Ooh, welcome to another episode of The Music Ark. I am Sunshine Mayfield, and we are here with a wonderful guest for our new series. It's actually not so much a guest as more of a co-host with this new mini-series we have. You'll have your regular scheduled programming on The Music Ark, but then we got this new mini-series coming through that is all about Ben Folds. And to talk about that, we have the one, the only, Max Gongaware.
It seemed like you were kind of building it up so that you were about to introduce Ben Folds himself. We're going to talk about Ben Folds, and we have the one, the only, Max. It's Max.
It's Max. But it's Max. You're here.
He likes Ben Folds, so we're going to talk to him.
You know, and me, the part of this podcast is that I've never gone through his music before. You have. Several times.
Yes, I've been a big Ben Folds fan since I was in about 10th grade. When I was first introduced to Ben Folds, my buddy Zach said, "Hey, give this disc an album. It's called Songs for Silverman by Ben Folds." And I loved it, and I was like, I need to learn more about this fella. So then I went and found everything by Ben Folds I possibly could. So the Songs for Silverman was certainly not his first album, but I went back and listened to everything I could listen to. And I think our game plan is to start in chronological order.
Yeah.
And listen to his Ben Folds 5 debut album.
Yeah, from the get-go. Now, he was in a band prior to this, right? So, he was in a separate group that was not Ben Folds 5.
Yeah, he was in something called, Majosha.
Majosha?
I think he was the bass player in Majosha. And I don't know much about Majosha other than that he was in it.
And we couldn't find music from him.
Yeah.
So it's out there, probably.
It exists.
I don't have it. So we're gonna go through his albums in order, kind of talk about them. Me as a person who's never listened to him before. I mean, I knew the songs. I knew Brick. I knew his covers.
What are his covers?
Well, he did some hip hop covers. He did some stuff with.
I was just trying to get you to say a cuss word.
William Shatner. Nah, that's not a cuss word. So we'll go through some of that stuff too. But that's the stuff that I know. Never, so it'll be interesting to see someone that you're a huge fan of. Me, not really giving him the chance yet. We saw him in concert.
We saw him in concert back in May. I enjoyed it. I think I caught you almost nodding off at one point. So we'll see how this goes.
I was engaged. My eyes were closed. I was listening.
Yeah. Okay.
So, so we'll go through all this, and it should be a fun time. We're recording this in an actual studio.
Yes, we're at the Sports Channel 8 studios in the heart of Durham, North Carolina.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful day outside. We got the window. We can see things. It's a gorgeous day. It's a great day to record a podcast inside.
Yep.
For an hour.
Maybe next time we'll do an outdoor podcast and just have wind blowing and birds chirping and people yelling
real
and
ambient sounds
in the background. Are those dudes are they really talking about Ben Folds right now?
They wouldn't know that that's what we were talking about.
That's true.
A likelihood. So let's jump right into it. Before we get into Ben Folds, I want to hear about your music taste in general. What's the last thing that you listened to? The last album that you kind of gave a listen, and what were your thoughts? Your feelings?
Well, those of you who are listening right now probably are thinking to yourselves, wow, these two guys have such a strong rapport with each other. I bet they're friends outside of podcasting.
Not true. We just met.
Nope, that's not true. Well, it's not true that we just met. We have known each other for a while, and actually we were at a trivia thing the other night, and we started talking about an album that I hadn't listened to in a while, so I went back and listened to it. It's Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too by New Radicals. You may know the song You Get What You Give. There are a couple in there. Oh, do you hear that coming through? Do we stop talking while it's playing, or
it's up to you? We'll let the song go.
So you've probably heard that song, and I went. That was a one-hit wonder allegedly, but I went and listened to the whole album, and it's a fun album. It sounds like I found out that the dude who is in that band was behind some of Begin Again, the movie.
Yeah.
Especially the song Lost Stars.
Great movie.
It's a good film. Mark Ruffalo, Keira Knightley. Good job had by all.
Yeah, and not like Keira Knightley, like the average college dude being like, oh, Keira Knightley, but
no, Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley was she was great.
She sings, she smiles, she has a relationship with Adam Levine. It's a film.
It's a film.
It's good.
It's a good movie.
And the I guess the main song from that is called Lost Stars, and the guy from New Radicals had something to do with it. And as you go back and listen to Maybe You've Been Brainwashed Too, you kind of hear, oh, it's all coming together. That makes sense.
It does sound similar.
So it's a fun album.
You really enjoy it.
That's what I listened to most recently.
Yeah, and you're right. People write it off as a one-hit wonder. That start to finish, really good jams on that one. The last one I listened to was a little album called Vacation by a band called Seaway. I got to see them in concert recently and really enjoyed the show that they put on. So I went and I pulled up some of the music and I gave it a listen.
I like the way that you dress up, the way your models for me. I like that when I grab your hand, you tend to smile in your sleep. I like the way you sprinkle bourbon in your morning coffee. It kinda tastes bad. I'm not mad.
Yeah, that's not for me.
That's not your style of jams?
Nope, that does not remind me of Ben Folds 5 in the least.
It is not. Well, kind of though, right? Like,
I don't know.
He definitely had going through this first album with the self-titled debut. I mean, there's
some influence from punk.
Like, maybe, I don't know, like, but yes, it's a little bit grittier. It's not like he's trying to replicate a similar sound or create a sound of his own via piano as opposed to like your average
it's like a group
guitar.
of dudes who got together and were like, let's create a sound unlike anything we've ever heard before. Let's just rip the piano
to shreds. Let's just shred on it.
And then they have this distorted bass sound and the drums, but then every once in a while it's like, oh wait, we're also very talented musicians and we're gonna do a quick jazz break in the middle of this like high intensity.
Throw in some Gershwin here.
Why not?
Yeah, why would you not?
Gershwin's good, I've heard.
He's a talented dude.
Yeah.
So you've been listening to New Radicals. I've been listening to Seaway. A little bit different, but we're all going to bring it together. And just to kind of kick into our next segment, let's get a little background on what was going on in the times of this first album. Released when? So
this album was released in 1995.
All right.
And to kind of learn about the roots of this album, we need to be aware of our roots.
Always.
And my last name is Gongaware. So we're going to be Gongaware of our roots.
I love it.
During this segment.
I love it. That was beautiful.
This album released in 1995. And what were you up to in 1995?
Kindergarten.
Great.
So yeah.
Same.
So I went to a K through 12
We
school.
already became like, we're not credible anymore for many. If people who have like
people are like, these guys are too young.
These guys were in kindergarten.
Old. It's like,
no, the people are going to say they were in kindergarten when Ben Folds' first album came out, and now they're doing a Ben Folds podcast. That doesn't make any sense. But
it's our research. And I mean, like, people grow up with stuff, right? Like, I grew up listening to Count Basie. I was definitely not alive when that music was hitting the airwaves.
That's fair. So you were in kindergarten listening to Count Basie. What else was going on?
I went to a K through 12 school that my dad was the headmaster of, that he worked at. So I got to hang out on the sidelines with the cheerleaders during football games, and I was adorable and cute. And
what happened?
I was playing once. I played tag with one of them, and then I had to go to the hospital.
No, I mean, what happened to you being adorable and cute?
I'm still pretty adorable.
Disagree.
It was hurtful.
Yeah, well.
Truth hurts sometimes. What were you doing? 1995.
95. I was also in kindergarten.
Were you cute and adorable?
I had my days when my hair was good. My hair is quite curly now.
Yeah.
Those days, like, I kind of had straight, like, wavy hair. I know that's an oxymoron, but it definitely wasn't curly. Like, I used to have like a part in my hair in 1995, and I'd show up in kindergarten and be so nervous that I used to throw up every day during nap time.
Every day?
It probably wasn't every day. I think I remember like a couple specific days and like now attribute that to every day of kindergarten.
What nerves triggered that? Like you were just...
I have no idea. It was nap
sleeping
time.
next to other people was too nerve-wracking for you?
Like I think we had like these little like mats that we would sleep on, and maybe the mat smelled bad. And,
was the
like,
mat
triggered.
Was like they had the built-in pillow, those mats?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a memory of throwing up in kindergarten a couple days during nap time after lunch. I don't know. Maybe it was the cafeteria food. I don't know.
Well, you're not throwing up now.
Not yet.
And you're talking to people.
I'm a little nervous to be on a real life podcast.
Well, you're doing great.
Thank you.
You've done one of these before, right?
Yeah, here and there.
Here and there, just dabbling in it.
Dabble in some podcasting.
Now we're in it. So this is the miniseries is called Lost in the Folds, right?
Oh, that's a clever pun.
Yeah, I like it.
Good job. It's got some like Stephen Sondheim like type of feel to it with the Into the Woods but Lost in the Fold.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Make a whole musical out of it.
Maybe. Well, it's a music podcast.
It is a music podcast.
If only we were singing to each other.
Here on the Ark of E. And so, all right. So what else was going on? 1995. They released this album.
Well, I did some research.
Okay, pull up
to see like what else is happening in the world.
What could have inspired him in this moment
in 1995?
Right.
And obviously, the most important thing that happened actually in 1994
before they recorded this.
Sure, was the Jacksonville Jaguars were founded.
Huh.
So
they've been irrelevant for 23 years.
Well, actually, now that do you watch The Good Place?
No.
Oh, it's a pretty solid show, and every once in a while.
Is that Kristen Bell?
Yes, it's Kristen Bell, but one of the characters...
She's dead?
Well, let's not give away. But one of the characters is from Jacksonville, and he's like, yeah, Jaguar, like he's Jaguars everything. And so now they're kind of relevant, and like, I don't know, they had some good games. They beat...
Somewhat. I don't know if The Good Place is relevant, so I don't know if...
People like that show.
Sure, it gets... The reviews are decent and solid.
All right. Also, 1995 area. This also happened in 94. UNC's radio station, WXYC. This is their student radio station, I assume. Mm-hmm. It was the first ever internet radio broadcast. It paved the way for us to do things like podcasts.
Like this right now.
It paved the way for us to put out content that like 3 or 4 people will listen to.
There you go. Sko Heels.
Yeah, way to go. And then obviously Ben Folds is from the North Carolina area, has spent a lot of time in Chapel Hill recording.
So where is he from?
He's from Winston-Salem, RJ Reynolds High School. He was recently like inducted into a Hall of Fame of some sort in Winston-Salem or at RJ Reynolds.
Who else would be in the Winston-Salem Hall of Fame?
I would go like Rayshawn Terry.
Yeah, sure.
I think he also went to RJ Reynolds. He played.
Would R.J. Reynolds be in the Hall of Fame?
He'd probably make the Hall of Fame. Wasn't he like a cigarette mogul?
Yeah. So cigarettes would make the Hall of Fame?
No, they would not. They're bad.
They are bad.
So
that's why we all vape now.
Yeah, that's what people like that too. I've heard.
Are you a big vapor?
I am not. Sorry.
All right. Well, you don't have to apologize.
It's too late to apologize.
Well, it's all right. What? So
One Republic's album came out in 95, I think. That might be wrong.
You want to talk about credibility? Misjudging that.
Okay, and probably the most important thing that happened in 1995 was the release of Ben Folds 5's debut album, which was in like February. I don't know. It was released. It happened.
Recorded in February.
I've heard it both ways.
Sure. Where'd they record that?
In Wave Castle, North Carolina.
Where is that?
I haven't a clue.
I've never heard of that.
Wave Castle. It's like
you think it's on near the beach.
I imagine that there's like a castle somewhere in North Carolina that like there's some Rapunzel type character at the top but then they have like tours that go by and they're like wave at the castle and then Rapunzel type character waves back and that's how it became Wave Castle.
I wonder who's in the Wave Castle Hall of Fame.
Probably Ben Folds 5. Probably just this album. It's probably just some room that has this album in it.
Framed.
Yeah. And that's the Hall of Fame of Wave Castle.
Recorded here.
Yep.
All right. And so all this stuff's going on. He records this album. There's Ben Folds 5, first album.
Yes.
Not 5 members in the band.
There are not. There are 3 people in Ben Folds 5.
So is that the dumbest band name or is that the greatest band name?
I think it's... if it's dumb, that doesn't necessarily mean it's not great.
Fair. That's true. So, what are your thoughts?
I don't know.
Why call it Ben Folds 5?
Well, so Ben Folds 5 consists of 3 dudes. It's Robert Sledge on the bass guitar. There's Darren Jesse on the drums, and you've got Ben Folds on the piano, and they all sing a little bit. Ben Folds sings the most. He's the lead vocalist, but they're all pretty solid. They harmonize with each other very well, and it's a good album. And I actually, in my fandom of Ben Folds, I've listened to some interviews that they've done over the years, and there was one that I probably came out right as this album was released, where the same question was asked, y'all have 3 people, why are you Ben Folds 5? And somewhere in the background you hear Robert Sledge or somebody whisper we have the strength of 5 men. And then they all laughed and
we are laughing.
And that's probably true. They probably have the strength of 5 men, at least musically.
So first kind of glance into this album, musicality is through the roof. These guys are talented. This is not just your normal debut where you get a couple people who are they get together, they're picking up instruments, they realize they have a really cool sound. These people are very talented, traditionally talented in these instruments.
I agree. You've got, as I mentioned earlier, you've got some licks of Gershwin, and you've got some licks of like jazz drumming on the, light on the cymbals, and like, but then you've also got this just like, it starts with Jackson Cannery, and it's just like in your face, some dude on the piano pounding on the piano. You've got the distorted bass, so you've got this good blend of like these dudes who have some attitude, but like also they're musically very talented. It's pretty clear.
Well, and so in going through the album for the first time, Jackson Cannery is probably one of my top tracks. Just going through it, it's got a really solid sound.
Stop the bus, I wanna be lonely. When seconds pass slowly and years go flying by, you gotta stop the bus and get off here. Enough's enough.
Like that's fun.
That is
Like
fun as hell.
Like I imagine that these guys had an absolute blast while recording and touring and going through this album. Like that's just what a great tune.
Yeah, I mean it's fun, and then but it goes from that some dude's pounding on the piano to the next song is Philosophy, which just like even the intro, it's just like this dude is feathering the piano keys. Are you gonna play it? Listen to that. But then boom, distorted bass. And it's like, oh, this song's about to take it up a notch. But then later in the song, he goes into this Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue lick.
Which, first of all, can I say I'm impressed? Like, you did not study music, and you were able to identify that, which I guess is pretty famous. But
well, to be fair, the first time we ever listened to that song together, like, we like, I'll be fair, but this is like Sunshine's first like real like devoted listen to this album. But there have been times where we've been in the car together and I've forced him to listen to some Ben Folds songs, and Philosophy may be one of them. And he goes into this Gershwin Rhapsody in Blue, and you're like, man, he just ripped that from Gershwin. So I think the only reason I know it is because of you. But
and I guess I sounded pretty angry back then about it.
Yeah, you're like, I can't believe it. Like he's clearly just stealing music. He's not even using fair use. Like I don't know.
I was more judgmental back then.
I guess.
When was this? A week ago?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have a lot of fun. He's musically talented. Lyrically, for me, this album has a little to beat his eye. Like, I want a little bit more out of it.
I think that's fair. I think there are some lyrics that I have held on to that I really enjoy. Like, I think Alice Childress is a really good song, and I really like.
I agree. That was on my top 3 for the album.
For me, that song is Alice. The world is full of ugly things that you can't change. Pretend it's not that way. That's my idea of faith. Like, I like that lyric a lot.
Yeah. That was Jackson Cannery, what we kicked off with, Underground, my 3 top tracks on the album. Like, bar none. Like, it wasn't even like I didn't have to like juggle between like, oh, is this like those 3 to me are honestly head and shoulders above the rest.
I think those are 3 of my favorites as well, but I also like the entire album. I think, we go, what did we say? We've got strong start with Jackson Cannery, then you kind of get an idea of how talented they are musically in Philosophy, and then you get to Julianne, and there's literally a bag of trash featured in the recording of that song.
Which is weird, because that's one of my least favorite songs on the album.
You think that song is
a bag of trash.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. That is unfair. I do, first listens. I listened to this album probably 3 times this past week, and the way I kind of envision albums is I'll listen to it as a whole, then I kind of piece it apart by track by track.
For me, I don't think that
was not one of my favorite tracks.
For me, I don't think I necessarily ever go into an album looking for like listening for lyrics and like, oh, this album has meaning to me. Like I'm always listening just to music first, and then as I listen more and more and more, like maybe some lyrics will start to stand out to me, and I'll be like able to add an even bigger meaning to whatever songs I really like. I think like for me, Best Imitation of Myself is a really good example of a song on that album that like the first few times I listened to it, it might have been like, oh, I didn't really hear it. Like, but then that song has grown to mean a lot more to me about like doing the best imitation of yourself, becoming the best imitation of yourself. And the way Ben Folds writes in kind of the satirical way of that, how that song, it's very, I identify with it very well as a guy who likes to use satire every now and then, like, but also, to do the best imitation of myself. So,
well, and to be fair, so like lyrically on that song, yeah, you dive into it. There's a little bit more to it. Really cool message, really cool concept. Musically, I found that song to be
it's a little boring,
somewhat boring.
Yeah.
like a quote out of context, withholding the rest, so I can be for you what you wanna see. I got the gesture and sounds, got the timing down.
Some solid beatboxing.
I think there's some, like, overall, yes, I think you can say it's pretty boring, but there's some pretty fun background vocals where they're just like, ah, and that was a really good impression, huh?
And one of those things, and well, in general on this album, when everybody's in, because I think there's a lot of collaboration, at least vocally, on what's going on. When everyone's in the pool, those moments where you got all three of them singing together, like, those are some really cool moments. Because let's be real, Folds not a great singer.
I would say that's fair. He's not a great singer. But
I think
that's
it works
part
for
of
the style. Sure.
I think that's part of the charm of what I like about Ben Folds so much. It's like, this is a dude who's like really good musically, like with his piano, but like vocally, he's trying as hard as he can.
So bless your heart vocalist.
Yeah.
Like aw.
But like, I think he does have a very good like understanding of what he can and can't do, and like he has an understanding of like when he needs to go into his falsetto, and you know, I think musically he overcomes his voice and even uses his voice in an interesting enough way that like it sounds fine to me.
Sure. And but again, for this, I think to me one of the biggest issues with this album is that it seems like a lot of first drafts. And it's like it doesn't seem like things were fleshed out or they took a lot of time on it. And sometimes that works really well. Sometimes that doesn't work at all for me. So Julianne was a song I really didn't enjoy. Sports and Wine I didn't really care for. And then there was a lot of stuff that were right on the fence, right on top of the hedge. Not over the hedge, just right on top of it. Just
you're an idiot.
Philosophy, Where's Summer Be, Uncle Walter, Best Imitation of Myself. Didn't hate them. Would probably really enjoy them the more I listened to the album. But they were not. I was not overall impressed with it.
Yeah,
just like in a feeling sense, like, because let's be like, he is doing things on the piano. They are doing things from an instrument standpoint that like, yeah, I can't do.
Absolutely. I mean, they're
he's
very
talented.
I don't know. I think with any album that you listen to, the first listen, there's going to be a few standouts, and like, I don't think you've listened to this very many times yet.
3 or 4.
I think
this
Where
week.
Summer Be is. I like that song a lot. I wasn't fully listening to you as you were naming the songs you don't like because I was distracted by your Over the Hedge reference, but. So I remember hearing on Where Summer Be. Did you mention, what else did you mention? Did you mention Boxing?
I did not. That is not one of my favorites on. That was probably my least favorite track on the album.
Boxing is your least. So it's worse than Julianne.
Yes.
I don't think that's fair at all. Why? Like, I think it's fun. It's a fun story. He threw a waltz into the last song of the album just for the heck of it. It's also a fun, like, it's Muhammad Ali like talking about his retirement with Howard Cosell. Like, who writes a song about that? Look at that. It's a waltz. Listen to that. How fun is that? It's not that fun. It's a waltz.
Yeah, it's not very fun at all.
But it's a good, like, give it a few more listens. I think you might like it. Look, that's Muhammad Ali singing right now.
Strangest things have happened lately when
How much of this are we going to listen to?
Enough to give people a feel.
It's that for
3.5 minutes.
the drums come in, like it picks up a little. Like the tempo doesn't pick up, but like eventually, like you got that. You can still have that distorted bass and those drums that are like pounding away in the background.
Sure. I think again, it's there are different styles of music, right? So he's got some waltz. There's a polka in there.
You got Gershwin.
But overall, there's not. The style's the same, but the way that the style's presented styles are different. The way the style's presented very similar from track to track to track to track. There's not a lot of diversity that goes through the album, which is why there's some songs, depending on how the chorus hits or just the overall feel, that I'm like, yeah, I'm totally in on Jackson Cannery. I'm totally in on Underground, where there's some really cool things going on, and then it just kind of all blends at a certain point in the album.
But I think, on the one hand, like maybe you're looking for more diversity in your collection of music. I think on the other hand, like he does a really good job of just doing some storytelling, and I think it's okay for them all to kind of sound a little like there's some similarities between some of the songs, but they're all very different stories, I feel like.
Yeah, well, and the storytelling is probably one of the coolest things about what he does. Again, I think that sometimes first drafts and some stick, some don't. But like Uncle Walter is probably a perfect example of like, this is his style of writing. This is his storytelling. He's got a start, a middle, and an end with each song. And they all tell a very unique story of this kind of world that he lives in.
I think that song is real fun.
I agree.
It's like his Uncle Walter, but it's also about like Walter Cronkite kind of, and there's just a lot going on, and it's that song is great.
Yeah, so I think that his style of writing is pretty cool and unique, and helps kind of define what he's doing on this album specifically. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
And that's okay.
Sure, if you want an okay album.
I think it's a better than okay album.
Well, we can talk about it a little bit more. We can go through the rankings, but so like with this, there's a fun little thing I like to do. Here's a movie that is going to be soundtracked by this album. What is the general feel of the album? What is going on in this movie? That this is being soundtracked by.
So you're saying that there's a movie. Okay, this isn't a movie that already exists.
No, this is like if you were writing a movie to be accompanied by this album, what's going on?
I'm thinking like it's like it's a movie about like kind of a nerdy group of friends who like are creating some sort of story together. Maybe they're like writing. Maybe it's a movie about a group of friends making a movie.
That would never work.
No.
Hollywood hates meta.
Do they?
No. I think they like it a lot. That's why there's so many Oscar like nominees that are like about the movie industry, because it's very self-serving.
Oh well, so I don't know. That could be great. I'm gonna go ahead and
get on writing that.
Yeah.
I like to think of it as like a date. So like this dude picks up this girl, and you
like to think of everything as a date.
Man, are
we on a date right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Did I buy you coffee?
Yeah, you did.
So, yeah, absolutely. So I like to think of it like there's a date. This guy takes this girl out, and like they're having a fun time. It's a montage of them like at the carnival or the fair, and they're doing the stuff.
So you love Jackson Cannery. That means the date started out really well.
Starts really well.
And then your least favorite song on the album is Boxing,
which is the last song on the album.
So what happened on this date?
Just things went raw. Things were bad.
But like, what if you trusted me and said, give that a few more listens, and like Boxing, you might start to like Boxing.
So like, would that turn into like a date that you had to keep going on?
I don't know.
I don't know how it plays out.
I can't wait to explore this further.
As of right now, that's the movie that would be painting a picture.
All right.
But yeah, so
I'm sure like that might like, I don't know if Ben Folds writes songs thinking that this is going to be perfect.
Write songs for movies? You don't think he writes songs for movies?
Well, he's definitely done that.
So,
I'm saying, but like, but he does that on purpose. I don't think he was writing this album for a movie, and I don't know if he would take that as a compliment. Like, oh man, this would be an album for people to go on a date to. Yeah,
yeah, probably not.
So that disproves what your theory is.
Whatever. So again, there's some stuff that I really like, and in this album in general, there are concepts that I like as someone who's not a Ben Folds fan, and not saying I dislike him, just saying that I've never given him the chance. There are core concepts that I am like, oh cool, I'd like to see that happen more. I'd like to see I love the group vocalization in different parts. I love the kind of Cat's Cradle punk rock feel of like this type of show that's just them going nuts on stage, but instead of a guitar, he's got a piano. But he shreds it like he's trying to rip a guitar apart, which is really cool to see. I mean,
if you've seen him live, he'll literally break his piano on stage at the end of his show. He'll throw his stool at the piano and just destroy pianos.
Yeah. You gotta have money for that.
Well, he's a very
famous,
successful musician. He was in Over the Hedge.
Right. So, but there's also like this weird spot of like, and it happened at that concert of this weird kind of space of like, what are you supposed to do with this live show? Because I like live shows where like it is very clear like what the vibe is supposed to be. You go see a musical, you're going to sit down, you're not supposed to sing along, you enjoy the musical, you clap at the end, like it's cool. You got your punk rock shows or your shows with mosh pits where it's like you're moving, you're getting after it, you're jumping, it's cool when people crowd surf. Ben Folds, at least in the show we saw, and then I get a little vibe of in this music, trying to picture what it would be like live, is like Do you stand? Do you sit? Are you allowed to dance? Are you supposed to be jumping up and down? Or you're like swaying? Like, it's very unclear of like what the vibe of this show would have been. I think it would have been fun. I imagine like confetti and things and like them having a good time. But I still think there are moments where you're like, yeah, the song's upbeat, but like I don't really know what I'm supposed to be doing here.
Yeah, I think that's fair. As much as you complain about how this album is not that diverse, I think his music over the years, so now if you see him live now, like he's got so many different flavors in his music that like he'll pound at the piano for a little bit, then he'll go into like a ballad, and then like it is kind of hard to get a rhythm, get a flow of what are you supposed to do during a bit. Like I love a Ben Folds concert because I'm just entranced with his talent and him singing, but like I agree there's not like a directive to the audience. It would be nice if they had like some signs out that like applause, or like you may stand and wave your arms, take your phone out and wave it back and forth to create that stadium feel that happens. Like that, I could use some instructions like that.
Yeah,
but that's just me not always understanding social cues too, probably.
Are you not good at social situations? Like, is podcasting as about as social as you want to get? Or
I mean, yeah, I think I'm much better on the internet platforms than I am in real life socially. Like Twitter, I'll correspond with you on Twitter all day, but once we meet in person, like I don't know what to say.
Well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go. So what I think will be one of my most fun for me sections of our episodes as we go forward. You might hate them, but we're gonna go with unrelated mediocre album comparison, which we're gonna take a baseline album, one that is critically considered very mediocre. Okay. And we're going to say, is this album, the one we're talking about, so today it's Ben Folds' 5 debut, is it better than this other album that is considered mediocre?
So we're going to compare Ben Folds to mediocrity.
Yes.
I can't wait. That's going to be great. I'm going to love every minute of that.
You're either going to say it's better than mediocre or worse than mediocre.
Always better.
Well, we'll see. Critically, so I might give you an album that you love, but it's critically considered mediocre.
Okay.
So today... the album that is in question is... It's
Majosha, isn't it?
It is. Well, you couldn't find any music on that, but I also don't know if their album would be considered mediocre. Today it is 2001's release, Hoobastank by Hoobastank.
Oh, it's another self-titled album.
Which is why I did it. Is this album better than Hoobastank's Hoobastank?
Yes. I already know. I can't tell you a single song from Hoobastank's Hoobastank, but...
Well, I'll tell you a song, Crawling in the Dark's on there.
I don't know Crawling in the Dark. I hate it. This is worse than Ben Folds. 5. Confirmed. Can't confirm. This reminds me of Seaway more than it reminds me of Ben Folds 5.
Don't put that... Seaway is, I would argue, is at least the Seaway album is better than this album.
That's enough Hoobastank. We get it. We get it, Hoobastank.
So you're going to say that...
I like Ben Folds 5's better.
Well, so I want to pull up some reviews of the Hoobastank album because I think...
you can't think for yourself and you need other people.
I think that it's, some people really love this album. I want to hear their
all the way down. I can still hear it in my headphones.
I want to hear what other people have to say about Hoobastank's Hoobastank.
You're so inclusive.
I really try to be. So you got one person wrote... Hooba wow. 5 stars. Hooba wow.
No. No. I mean, great for them for writing that in a comment section on Amazon. I love that.
Another person 5-star review was one of those CDs that just gets you.
No.
So, this person really connected. It just gets you.
It just gets you.
Fell in love with the single from the radio, and lo and behold, put the CD in. The whole thing just got me.
Hoobastank wrote this album for you.
For you.
It was a second-person album.
The Hoobastank, that's an interesting... does that fall in the category of like Ben Folds 5?
Band names?
Like, is it so bad that it's good? Is it so weird that it's good?
I don't know enough about
who's got the better band name,
the etymology of Hoobastank. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Everybody has a right to their own opinion, including you.
Well, and here's the thing. The Hoobastank's album, just absolutely mediocre.
I haven't listened to it. I might actually... maybe I'm not giving it enough of a chance.
Maybe you're not trying. but I didn't really enjoy. Like, I liked parts of this debut album from Ben Folds, but I don't know. It's probably a little bit better than Hoobastank.
All right, so that's a win. I'll take it.
Just barely.
I'll take it. It's a win. 1-0. Ben Folds 5 is 1-0 against mediocrity.
Usually we go. We'll put it on the board.
Yes.
Get the scoreboard.
We'll take a picture of the scoreboard later and send it out on Twitter.
He is better than mediocre. But I guess this is a good time to go in kind of our ranking system. And are you a big ranker? Are you a big, you like to throw ratings onto things?
I don't rank music. I know that that's kind of how your brain is wired. It's like anything you do, you like go into it and you're like, I'm going to rank this after I'm done with it.
Well, I feel like it just gives it a little bit more of a tangible number or something.
I use like
don't have to read the whole review.
The serial mindset of we eat what we like. I listen to what I like, and if I like it, I don't necessarily feel like I need to rank it. I don't remember what cereal I'm referencing right now. I think it's Trix.
Trix is for kids. I don't think that's
no. You're right. We eat Corn Pops maybe,
which is a very bland cereal.
Right. It's mediocrity. But
it's mediocrity. So, don't you wish you could rate which one was better?
I mean,
Trix or Corn Pops?
I don't know, but like I don't.
Well, so hear me out. Here's my ranking system. Right. So I like to do 10 points.
Of course you do.
10-point scale. Gives
you don't do a scale of a 13-point scale where 8 is the greatest.
What?
That's a reference to The Good Place again. I'm sorry. We can stop.
Is that? Did you actually watch that show?
Yeah, it's good.
It's a good.
Season 1 has a crazy twist ending, man.
I do like Kristen Bell.
Who doesn't?
I
can't let it go.
Yeah,
that's
Idina Menzel,
Adele Dazeem.
But she was in that movie, right?
Kristen Bell was.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
she's saying the other one, the snowman.
Do you want to build a snowman?
You sound just like her. Yeah.
People tell me I'm talented. Not Ben Folds piano talented, but I get by.
I've listened to you try to play piano. You're not Ben Folds.
I'm not. No,
I mean, very few people are.
Few people are Ben Folds.
He went to the University of Miami School of Music and didn't graduate.
In Coral Gables.
Yes, that's the one. Which is a very lots of great musicians have come from the University of Miami.
Really?
You've got Ben Folds and you've got Piccolo Girl.
the marching band girl. Yeah, she's talented.
I agree. And then apparently he dropped out at one point and threw his drums into the lake.
That's
I think
Ben
he went
Folds thing to do.
Yeah, I think he went to study percussion and dropped out and threw his drums into a lake. There's a story out there somewhere. I don't know it word for word.
All right. Well, so rating system. Here's how it works. So 10 points, and it's I'll start with 6. Let's talk about the good side. You get I like it, right? That's right. That's your 6. You'll like it.
Sure. Let's give that a 6.
Then you get a little bit of inflection when you're like, I like it, right? You give that upward inflection. 7.
Okay.
I really like it. 8. I really like it. 9.
When you do the inflection, I almost feel like that's worse. Like you're kind of deciding that I really like it. That doesn't sound better to me than I like it. I
like it. It's good. It's better than I like it.
I'm glad that you're defining your rankings because I would be confused by it otherwise.
Yeah. So and then you love it. It's a 10. And then 5 is I understand why people like it. It's not really for me. 4 is I didn't really like it. 3, you start getting into your
We get it. We get it. It's a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah.
It is not an unfamiliar concept.
I just wanted to give a little bit of clarity.
Okay, keep going.
No, I'm done now. So
right,
you ruined the mood. So anyways, I'm going to give Ben Folds 5's debut album, self-titled. I'm going to give it a 5. 5 out of 10.
But we already established that it's 1-0 against mediocrity, and then that means I've done my job.
Sure.
I've convinced you that
so
it's
where
great.
Would you give it? I'm going to push you out of your comfort zone. Give it a ranking. Where are you putting it?
Well, so this is interesting for me to rank because I've listened to all of his albums and you haven't yet. So you're ranking it just because you are ranking it on whether or not you like it based on your own sense of music.
Correct.
Which is, a 5 out of 10. I think what I'm ranking it on is more of how do I compare this album to the rest of his portfolio, and I'm going to give it a 7.
So you're saying compared to everything else he's done, it's on the higher end of things.
But it's also on a scale of whether or not I like it. I think they're all going to be above a 7. I think they're going to be 7. They're all going to be 7 or higher.
Right. So you're saying everything's going to be 7 or higher. This might be one of the worst things that he's done for you.
I won't say that out loud. No.
Well, we're gonna.
I will at no point will I say.
Future episodes, we're gonna rank each thing together. You're gonna have to give it a rank. So you're gonna have to figure out where that fits.
We'll get there when it comes to it.
For everything that Ben Folds has done. So
they're all 7s.
They're all sevens.
But it's like the 7 is also a 10. We all have our own systems.
So 5 out of 10 for me, 7 out of 10 for you.
Let's do that.
All right.
Ben Folds, if you're listening, don't take any meaning to that. I don't rank music. This is a great work.
Ben
Great
Folds,
job,
if you're
Ben.
listening, come on the show.
Yeah, I don't know what he's.
The people, band members from Ben Folds 5 live around here.
Yeah,
right?
Darren Jesse and I think Robert Sledge. I think they're both still local. We saw Darren Jesse at a restaurant.
We did. That's right. Mexican restaurant. That was delicious.
We should probably stop talking about how we saw these celebrities.
I wonder if we can get. We might be able to get him on this thing, right?
Darren Jesse?
Maybe.
Yeah, come on out, Darren.
Yeah. Hit us up. You know where you can find us? You can find us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, at the Ark of E, or thearkofe.com, where we've got the 4-color arc, the movie arc, the TV arc, just a lot of different things about news and.
I'm so blessed to be part of this organization, the Ark of E.
Dude, we love having you.
Yeah.
This has been a fun first episode. One down. We're one episode down.
One Down is a song that Ben Folds. It's on a Ben Folds live album. It's the only place I've ever heard it, but it's a thing.
See, I'm referencing things before you know what they are.
Yep.
You can follow Max Gongaware on Twitter at Max Gongaware, which is spelled gong, like the bell, and then aware, like you understand that it exists. Gongaware.
I am aware of gongs. Yes, and Max is spelled M-A-X. Max Gongaware.
Perfect.
You can also find me on sportschannel8.com every once in a while and via their social media stuff.
Yeah, thanks for dabbling in music, getting away from the sports world.
You know what? I think everything is connected, and there are many parts about sports that I think rely on music to be successful, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
Yep, and you can find me at Mr_Sun_Shine on
you
Twitter.
Spell out underscore. You don't put an underscore.
Please put in. That'd be a stupidly long. Have you seen a Twitter handle that was that long?
No, I don't think they exist. I've never. That would be funny if somebody just spelled out underscore at some point. I'm sure that's been done by somebody.
Possibly, yeah, for sure. So, this has been the first episode. Again, thank you guys so much for listening. We are excited. We will be back with his next album on our next episode called Whatever and Ever. Amen? Amen? Amen?
Yeah, I've heard it both ways.
We've heard it both ways. And so thank you guys so much for listening. We will be back soon with another episode of the Music Arc, Lost in the Folds, an Ark of E production. I am Sunshine Mayfield with Max Gongaware. Thank you guys so much for listening.